Hey, here on Boston Common, it's March 30th, 2026. I want to talk a couple of minutes about the shape of the cross and what it means. So, if you're familiar with the I Ching, you have every hexagram in the I Ching is formed of trigrams. Every trigram is composed of 3 lines. Every line is either male or female. The male is one long unbroken bar or line. That's a symbol for male or masculine. The female is a broken line. So it's 2 line segments with a space in between. If you take the female line and lie it horizontally, and then take the male line and basically push it through the hole in the female line, the unbroken male line like pushes through the hole in the female line, enter through the narrow gate, the eye of the needle. So you have like an eye and then a needle. You get a cross. Now, if you do that, in the I Ching, the way those symbols are traditionally drawn, like the sides on the female line that are broken are symmetrical. So if you were to draw that, you'd get a cross where the horizontal cut through right in the middle, but of the vertical line. So you'd have the vertical male line, and then the horizontal would be halfway. But the human anatomy is such that when Romans crucified people, the cross wouldn't quite be like that. That you'd have the vertical, and then higher up, more than halfway up of the vertical, you'd have the horizontal cutting across, because in order to get someone's arms the way they need to be on the cross, that's the way it would be. So essentially it's asymmetrical. So it's not exactly like taking a female line in the I Ching and pushing the male through it. It's slightly different, and there's a reason for that. When Jesus says, love, that the greatest commandment is to love the Lord your God with all your mind, all your heart, all your soul, and he adds your strength in 2 of the 3 Gospels in which he says it, but not in Matthew. He doesn't say strength in Matthew. He says heart, mind, and soul. In Luke and Mark, he says heart, mind, soul, and strength. So if you can imagine the horizontal line being a woman with a hole, a gap in it, and then the needle, or the vertical line going down on the cross, being a penis, the whole penis isn't pushed in. It's not using all of its strength. So basically there's strength being reserved during lovemaking. There's one example that means. So essentially you have a horizontal female line with a gap, and then the vertical unbroken male line goes down, but it doesn't go all the way through. It's not a T. It's a lowercase t, actually. It's not an uppercase t. But importantly, so you can say to yourself, if you look at a cross, you can say to yourself, okay, well, and this isn't just about sex. It's just in general how you want to use strength towards someone that you love, or for someone that you love. So if you look at a cross, you got a smaller segment up above the horizontal bar, where like Jesus's head and neck, and the beginning of the shoulders, and then the rest of them, you get where his arms were is on the horizontal bar, and then his torso, his legs are down below. So that gives you like kind of an approximate ratio. But Jesus also said, please understand, I came not to bring peace but a sword. So in order to really understand what he's talking about, we give you kind of a rule of thumb with regard to how much strength you use. He actually flips the cross and makes it a sword. So if you flip it and make it a sword, you actually have the longer part is outside of the woman, the longer part of the vertical, and then you have the horizontal cutting across the woman, and then only a little bit going in. Now, this doesn't mean just it's not a purely anatomical point. It's symbolic, but the basic gist of it is that most of the strength that needs to be used, most of the masculine strength that needs to be used, is outside of the beloved. It is for things like protection and defense of um, people you love, and really others, of your neighbors, of those who you should love as yourself. It is outside. It's not directed towards them. It is not. If you take the cross, flip it into a sword, the horizontal is down more than halfway below. Most of the vertical phallic symbol is up above, outside of the person. Most of the strength of the lover is directed for the beloved, but outward from the beloved, not into the beloved, not piercing the beloved like a nail during a crucifixion. It's outside. It's defense. And again, if you think about the cross and the crucifixion itself, another form of strength is vulnerability, sacrifice, patience, all of the things. Can you just imagine what Jesus went through during his trial? He was unjustly accused. He was humiliated. They took his clothes. They mocked him. They flogged him. They put a crown of thorns on his head and jeeringly called him King of the Jews. And then they put him on a cross, and he gets, in front of all his friends and neighbors. He's surrounded by accusers, and then they stab him with a spear, and all this stuff happens. It's a lot of sacrifice and vulnerability, and you can think about Jesus empathizing with the plight of women in Hebrew culture. He spent his very earliest time in Egypt. It's a little indeterminate exactly how much time that was, but in Egypt, the role of women was different. Egypt had a history of female pharaohs and female deities, and it's different. And so one of the things he's doing with his crucifixion is he's empathizing with the role of a woman in being receptive, being physically penetrated, and he's empathizing with the process of labor, with the process with female sexuality, and just generally patriarchy, and also the greatest commandment. You have strength is to be used very carefully, because he says strength, but he doesn't say strength every time. So there's discernment involved, and the cross itself, the shape of the cross, provides the guidance. It's not there's probably a ratio you could derive if you really wanted to get like a number about how much strength he used, but the general idea is to be gentler more than stronger towards the beloved person, and that relates to the physical as well as to the psychological, to the emotional. It relates not only to a spouse or a lover, but also children, in terms of disciplining children, guiding children, teaching them, all of those kinds of things. Strength is to be used very, very, very carefully, and most of the strength that we have in us is not intended to be directed towards those we love, towards our neighbors. It is intended to be directed outward, away from them, to keep them safe, to keep them in an environment where they can grow and bloom and blossom and thrive, as opposed to directing it towards the person. And you can have people have many subconscious, unconscious, psychological reasons for tormenting people that they have loving feelings for, because they're resentments or trauma and all kinds of other things. And you can't do that stuff. So that's one way to understand the shape of the cross and the meaning of flipping the cross into a sword. All of these things operate on many levels, but you flip the cross, it becomes a sword. Most of the strength is then outside the lover. It's just, you can picture it like somebody having sex and only pushing it in a little bit. Just be careful, be gentle, and use your strength you might need to use your strength against the enemies of the people that you love, which unfortunately we're having to do now.